All right, let's dive in. We're about to go on a serious philosophical journey, but listen, this is no casual stroll through the foothills. No, we are climbing to a dangerous, breathtaking summit to understand a really radical new kind of morality, one that our source material presents as a truly heroic ascent.
Wow. Okay, so right from the jump, you can feel the stakes here. We're not talking about some simple list of do's and don'ts. This is a morality that requires immense inner strength, a great health, the spiritual guts, really, to stare right into the abyss of existence and not blink, to face the hardest truths imaginable head on.
So, where does a climb like this even begin? Well, every epic journey has to start somewhere, right? And for us, that starting point is down in the valley, where we're weighed down by something our source calls the leaden cloak. And down in that valley, you're faced with a fundamental choice. Two completely different paths. On one side, you've got the last man. This is the person who craves safety, who clings to their sterile granaries, hiding from anything wild or unpredictable, the eater of raw flesh. But then you have the Overman. This is the one who sails right out into the open sea, who not only faces the chaos, but uses it as the raw material to build something totally new. So you gotta ask, what's holding the last man back? What's keeping him stuck in that valley? Well, meet the villain of our story, the spirit of gravity. You can think of it as this invisible force, this crushing weight of every thou shalt and thou shalt not you've ever heard. It's the voice of tradition that keeps you pinned down, terrified to create your own way. It's the great antagonist to our climber's ascent. And here's the kicker. This old morality, it feels safe, you know? It's like living inside a fortress. But that safety has a huge price tag. It works by cutting things out, by subtracting and dismissing all the messy, chaotic, and truly wild parts of being alive. So yeah, it protects you. But the walls that protect you are also the walls that imprison you in a much smaller life. But then something happens. Something huge. A cataclysmic event that shatters the very foundations of that fortress, and it forces our hero out of the comfort of the valley and onto the dangerous path upwards. This is the beginning of the heroic climb. There it is, the event that changes everything. The foundation of that old world, the ultimate source of every thou shalt, has just crumbled into dust. It's gone. So this is the question just hanging in the air for our climber. Imagine it. All the old maps are useless. The signposts have disappeared. What do you do? I mean, what guides you now? How do you even know which way is up when the ground beneath your feet is no longer solid? And this is the result. And it's both absolutely terrifying and incredibly exhilarating. Without that old structure, the world becomes this blank canvas. On one hand, it can be a sacred playground for creating incredible new values. On the other, it can just be a meaningless, endless abyss. The potential for greatness and the potential for utter despair are now both infinite. To navigate this new reality, you can't just rely on old school logic. It's not going to cut it. You need something else, something our source calls divine madness. Think of it as a creative courage so powerful, so deeply felt, that you're willing to write your new laws not with ink, but with your own blood. You have to become the author of your own meaning. Okay, so it's one thing to talk about having this divine madness, but how do you actually get it? How does our climber truly transform? Well, the process isn't external, it's an internal one, a kind of spiritual alchemy that the text calls the metabolic fire. This alchemy, this heroic affirmation, unfolds in 3 stages. First, you have to give a dithyrambic yes to life. That means saying a deep and resounding yes to all of it. The joy, the pain, the beauty, the ugliness. Step 2, you use that total acceptance as a metabolic fire. You take all the poison, all the venom from your past, and you don't just endure it, you burn it for fuel. And then finally, step 3, you achieve creative mastery. This is wild. It's where you start to see everything that happens to you, even the pure accidents of fate, as if they were intentional strokes in your own great work of art. And you have to understand, this transformation isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a constant, ongoing process, a rhythmic pulse. It's like the spiritual heartbeat of the climber, consistently taking in the agony of the ascent and pumping out pure vitality and strength. So what is the main poison that this fire needs to burn away? The source gives it a name, the tarantula. This is that spirit of hidden revenge. It's the bitterness you feel from being wronged, that desire to bite back. That's the venom, and it's what paralyzes your will, keeping you from creating anything new. If you can successfully metabolize that venom, the final stage is a complete metamorphosis. You become the child. Now, this isn't about being naive or childish. It's about achieving a profound state of innocence and forgetting, where you're no longer chained to your past. You become a wheel rolling out of its own center, creating your own motion, your own future, from a place of pure joy and affirmation. And so, after all that, the climb, the fire, the transformation, our climber reaches the summit. But what they find up there isn't a rigid set of stone commandments. It's something far more fluid, far more alive. It's something the Source calls the law of the dance.
And the guiding principle of this new law is amor fati, the love of one's fate. This is the ultimate yes. It's not about just accepting what happens to you. No, it's about actively willing it, loving it, seeing your entire life and all of existence with its beauty and its terror as one single, magnificent, tragic masterpiece. And here is the great revelation at the top of that mountain. The one who joyfully lives and experiences, the dancer, and the one who creates values, the lawmaker, you realize they're not two different people. They are one and the same. To live your life to the fullest is to create your law. Your very being becomes your moral code. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, it's a morality that sings instead of just commanding. It conquers that tarantula of revenge by turning pain into art. It doesn't run from conflict. It actually finds a deep metaphysical comfort there. Where the old spirit of gravity could only crawl, this new law leaps and dances. And maybe most crucially, it finds the strength, the lungs, to face that terrifying abyss and actually dance with it.
And so we land on this powerful, provocative command. It's a challenge, really, that completely reframes the purpose of life. It asks us not to follow a pre-made path, but to create our own path with every single step, with every dance move. And the question it leaves us with is a big one. What kind of masterpiece are you making of your fate?